Well, speaking, you just brought up, we segued, dude. What jobs have you worked, Bryan, in the service industry? We're hoping to bring on guests with people that have experience and have done things in the industry, so they can either, add some insight to other things we're talking about, and/or
Just hosted.
we just did what?
I've only hosted.
You've only hosted. That's the only job you've done in the restaurant industry.
Usually the lunch rush, Monday through Tuesday.
You're a lunch host, huh?
I'm a lunch host, part-time.
Well, there you go, people. He's a lunch host.
They schedule me once every other week because
Shout out to the hosts out there, though.
Dude, shout out to the hosts.
Shout out to all the hosts.
Shout out to the hosts. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's
shout out.
Majorly.
Excuse me.
Majorly sorry if
I have a reservation
that I don't appreciate a host, because a good host. Do you remember Paul's dad, or not Paul's?
Tyler's dad.
Oh man,
Greg, right?
Man, a good host is someone that
Greg
by the time the table gets to you, they're like, we would have preferred the host.
Yeah,
I'm like, I like that.
Yeah,
I got to step it up. I like that.
He also dressed like a circus ringleader, though, so it's like hard to compete.
But like fresh.
Like,
again, when your table's like, does he own the place? And I'm like, if he wanted to, yes, he does.
Yeah, you know what?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yeah,
he acted like it.
And then
honestly.
Joe would be walking around, squirrel.
He either dressed really nice or he did dress like he just came from the circus. Like he's like one of those strong men, like the heavy men.
Oh
from the circus.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
What are you wearing right
Where
now,
he has the beautiful lady on the arm. That's really,
that's what he reminded me of. And then other days he dressed like James Bond, like,
get on my hand.
I'll take you to your table, madame. Yes, one arm after the other. Let's go, dear. But yeah, that guy was crazy. That's our buddy's dad. And it's Greg with 3 G's, right?
No way.
He had 2 G's at the end of his name.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm thinking 3 G's at the
3
end.
3 G's at the end?
Good.
Well, 4.
That's Greg 4G. Yeah. He's got to keep up with the times,
Greg 4G.
Now he's probably a 5G because that's where we're all at. I don't know what he's going to
like 3 is the most you could do. At
Greg. At that point, it's Greg.
They're on 10G now, so now it's going to down.
Yo, man, we're going to Greg's house tonight. Everybody's getting fucked up.
You should go by G squared or something. Round it down.
Yes.
Make it a little simpler.
Okay, so from a restaurant perspective,
Yeah.
I legit have just done everything. In fact, the hilarious part was the only reason I even went into the service industry was because my father gave me an ultimatum. I was like, not really an ultimatum. I was just like, I want a car. I really want a car, and I've done enough jobs for you. I'd appreciate a different boss. And he's like, I'm like, where can I go get a job and get a car? And he just points to this area in the suburbs that was about a mile away. And he's like, go up there, walk up there, and go find a job. I was like, okay, cool.
Sweet.
So walk up there, did my Calvin walk, got all the way there, and it was in the suburbs. They had Target, PetSmart, Cub Foods, or Rainbow at the time.
Nice.
Because Rainbow got taken over. A couple little shops here and there. And then Blockbuster at the time.
Nice.
Yep. And Baker Square. And I remember seeing Baker Square and I was like, dude, that would be really, really fun to be in a restaurant. And I was like, it seems more a little bit my pace. And something seems right about the way that it's like positioned, wherever the restaurant, like I'm one of those real firm believers in like, if you walk into a room and it feels comfortable, like you're kind of meant to like, especially from a long-term perspective. So it just felt right. And so I went in and I told them I wanted to apply and they were like, well, we need kitchen work if you want to be a line cook. And I was like, what's a line cook? And they're like, you'd be literally cooking in the kitchen for everybody. And I was like, okay.
Sweet.
So there's 15 and a half, 16-year-old me. To my left is like the nicest guy ever, but he's also bipolar. And all he cared about was his truck. So his whole paycheck would go to his truck. And then he'd like be like on his break, he'd be like, do you want to come out to my truck and sit there and listen to stuff in my truck? And I'd be like, I'm good. You know, like I have to go do homework, you know, like, and this guy was like early 30s, you know, just very, very intense. And then there was another dude who was a really nice guy, but he was like ex-heroin addict and was an alcoholic at the time, but was the nicest dude in the world. So inevitably, because I was kind of, I wouldn't say straight laced, but like I hung around my family all the time. So there wasn't really, I wasn't the guy that was like going around getting fucked up and partying with everybody and all that stuff until probably college and service industry after. And when I started in the service industry, actually, but I was the one that was straight laced, like I said. Yeah. And so they kind of put all the responsibility on me to like run the kitchen. So it'd be like 120 covers coming in. They're all 95 to like 60, probably 65 to 95-year-old people. A lot of the church crew, because it's the suburbs and they want to get some food in quick. And Baker Square was always known for their pies and breakfast food. But they had a full menu. They had a lunch and a dinner menu as well. And so, I mean, I remember just getting our butts whooped, but it was awesome to me. I remember, you know, having like 9 to 10 pans on all these, you know, stovetops and sitting there and like flipping everything, knowing I had to have 3 medium up top, a couple of over easies over here, keeping the toast going, having to have chicken ready in case people wanted to go with whatever chicken breast to go with, whatever meal, keeping the eggs going, keeping the pancake, all the bullshit going. And it was exhilarating. I was like, this is super cool. And just, it was fun. Every day was different, but also there was this layer of grease on my body that was so palpable when I walked home about how like I had been sitting in front of food from any human being that looked at me. Like I looked like I'd been doing that, and I smelled like it and I felt like it. And that got to be really annoying. I just am not that type of person.
Like food all day?
Just being like in that sweaty, kind of greasy, gross feeling, but like it was exhilarating. But like I genuinely am a clean person. I like to take, you know, showers after working out and doing stuff or going and playing sports or before a game. I like to literally get, you know, fresh, like you're about to, you know, do a major league game and you're all prepped and ready, like stuff like that, especially with serving. That was how I would roll in. But anyways, I didn't like it. And then I got a chance to host for just one day. And I was like, dude, being out in the front's the way to go. And so it kind of came that route. And then I went through the whole system of like Applebee's, Fridays.
Oh, nice.
Jake's, Axel's, Bonfire, all that stuff. Nice. And then got into, you know, realizing that liquor and alcohol is where you were going to make your money at. You know, that was where your check average was going to come into play. And plus I wanted better food and things like that. So went that route and then did fine dining and did a couple years out in Wayzata, which is like just stupid money. And that was an experience, and did all sorts of things. Was, you know, I'd walk into work at 3:00 and they'd look at me and be like, you know, you and 3 other people have a wedding reception of 250 people in 3 hours upstairs, and this is your team. And I'd be like, why didn't you guys tell us this stuff before? And they'd be like, well, we were busy, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, this is so stupid. I would have come in. You don't have to put me on the clock. I would have come in hours earlier and set this shit up so I didn't have to run around like a fucking idiot. And we'd have to do that shit and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And so I was dealing with high flyers with high expectations and at the same time dealing with complete chaos and anarchy, you know, because we had the keys to the castle too. We could do whatever we wanted, which was really fun, but also could be really dangerous.
Yeah.
And then I did independent restaurants, things for like people that were like, my friend did Peruvian cuisine.
Or what?
No, Peruvian cuisine restaurant. He opened independently. And I was like, I'll help you be your front of the house guy. because he was more of a cook and this was his first business venture. And the food was so good, so good, so good. But it was in the suburbs and people weren't ready for that. Minnesota didn't really get its like culinary swing until probably within this last 5 to 10 years.
I feel like the 90s there was a Feeney and all that stuff, early 2000s.
Sure, but I mean, like the suburbs understood it. The cities understood it, but not the suburbs. The suburbs really started to understand how big of a name things are going was when people started to get on the national TV, and even people like Gavin Kaysen who were crushing it. I didn't even know about how amazing of a person he was and that he was opening doors for other people. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So, the suburbs were out of touch with people that were trying to further, the food industry. And this was one of them. And so I worked for him and it didn't work out. And then I also got sick. I had to deal with some medical stuff, which sucked. I had a crazy blood disorder and thank God it's the service industry because you can go back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the good part about it is you don't necessarily have to have a set schedule. It's a little more free. It's, I think why a lot of people are attracted to the idea of being in the service industry in the first place,
I love it, dude. I could go on vacation whenever I wanted. I could save up for it. I could do the good old days when you used to get your cash at the end of the night.
Yeah. Well, and there's still a ton of
shout
people
out anyone that does that still.
Oh yeah, seriously.
It's a nightmare though for the accounting.
There's still a lot of people who have like service industry as their second job too. Like it's not always like everybody's only job.
Right.
So it's definitely got those flexible time zones and hours and stuff. So